Along with drums, percussions and electric instruments, we also recorded some acoustic instruments. We had some flute, tsuras, this is, let's call it a mix between a bouzouki and a lute, and acoustic guitars, 6-string, 12-string. Let's see how they sound in context and how they sound isolated. Let's have a look at the introduction. Okay, so here we have this tsuras, I think it coming from Greece. Let's see what it does. It's with double strings, I think it's 6 double strings if I remember correctly. So we did exactly nothing on that except adding some room. When I use rooms, I usually have like an array of different rooms, long, short, some delays and stuff, and I just add them like spice, a little bit of here, a little bit of there. Here we have some short room, some dark hall, some chamber, no shimmer. Oh, that's a shame. I see that I have a filter added on and I automated it. Let's have a look if I can see why I did that. Yeah, there is a section where I wanted to add some drama because we have a build-up that I wanted to enhance while by using a filter. Let's isolate it and see what it does. So it's gradually opening up. And closing. And I automated some reverb at the end to make a nice finish. I just give you the end of this section in context so that you know why I did it. We needed this build-up coming from slowly and dark and open up to have a really nice section and really nice dramatic effect. That's all I did to this instrument. There's just mic placement and a little reverb and we're good to go. Then we recorded some flute at the beginning of the song as an introduction. Let's have a listen. Nothing major has been done. I just, as always, removed all excess of, well, non-information because there's nothing going on down there. And it was a little bit brighter than I wanted it after all in the mix. It sounded nice without my mastering chain, but in the mastering chain, I always brighten up the whole mix. And as a result, it was basically what I added on the whole mix was what I had to remove on the individual instrument for it to sound the way I heard it when we were tracking it. So I just darkened it a little bit. The limiter is doing nothing again except just leveling. It's not even catching a peak. I just use it so that my fader can stay at unity. It's just basically leveling without limiting. Then we added again different effects to put it in perspective. If I let me put out the automation and I mute all the reverbs that I used. It's boring and it's right in your face. So add a little bit of bricasti. Moving nicely into the room, a dark room. I exaggerate a little bit to get the effect. Add a little bit of dark tail, reverb tail. Did I use some delay? Yes, a little bit. The nice thing with delays is you can create space that is that you cannot really point your finger at. If you use much reverb, then it sounds like room. Delays, you can hide them between drum hits, between strums of guitars, because if the delay is really in time and the repetitions of the delay are exactly hiding between drum hits, between strums of guitars. You have a perception of depth, but you cannot tell, aha, there is a reverb tail, but there's just something going on that is opening the space up behind the instrument. So you leave the instrument up front and open a new world behind, giving it depth without having an obvious effect on it. This is also what this delay is doing, giving a sense of depth without really noticing it in the context. Then, of course, we need shimmer. I exaggerated to see. It has a heavily modulated reverb tail. I really love it. And then some EMT 250. It's a basic emulation of a legendary digital reverb. And then I like to combine dark and bright and small and big and delay, just adding it until it feels right. There is no secret to how really do it. It's just like you have to go by feel and by instinct. You add it until it just sits where you want to hear it, and then that's it. The trick is, don't exaggerate it. If you can really hear it too much, then back it off a little bit, and that's probably all you need. Let's have a look at acoustic guitars. They start with a strummed 6-string that we doubled. And when I look at it, I can see that we use some saturation. So they sound rather natural in context, but I like to use saturation because it's just making everything more dense and more grippy. So you get it just in front. It's getting compact without being all over the place. Let's have a look at one of the guitars. I suspend the automation for a second and put it in the center. It's nicer to listen to. And I bypass all of the stuff and listen to it raw, and then we put all the stuff back on and see what it does. It's a nice guitar. It's a little bit dull maybe, and doesn't have as much character as I would like it to have. Let's see what we did. Clean up as always a little bit. Here I see that this band, I put it in dynamic mode so that it's not putting down this frequency all the time, but just when it's exceeding a certain threshold. It's like a miniature multi-band, well, a single small band compressor. It was just getting a little bit muddy, so I controlled it. It's really not doing a lot, like 1 or 2 dBs of reduction, but it's cleaning up. It's the little amounts left and right and here and there, and in some it's really dramatic, the effect, even though you can hear a dramatic effect sometimes if you solo one track. And here it was a little bit harsh in the upper mids, so I just carved out a little bit. Then a little bit of compression, and I see that I put a sidechain in the detection path of the compressor, so that it's basically controlling low end. I didn't want it to have a low end buildup. I didn't want the actual strumming part of the guitar trigger the compressor. It would make the guitar dull. I didn't want it to be dull. I just wanted to control a little bit the low end. That's why I put a sidechain EQ in the detection path of the compressor, so that it would just engage when there would be a fundamental note that would be a little bit louder as I wanted it. So you see it's barely doing anything, but it's always on bon da 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 bon da da. So it's controlling these low strings a little bit instead of just compressing the whole guitar. And it's just a tiny bit, but again, it's just helping the guitar to sit nice in place and not moving around or triggering whatever you have in your master chain. If everything is too dynamic and you want to pump it up, in the end, you will have serious pumping. But by controlling every signal individually, a little bit here, a little bit there, everything is already calmed down and sitting nicely in place and not all over the place and triggering master compressors too much. Then, yeah, saturation. Let's see what it does for us. making a little bit more compact, a little bit more in your face. It's very gentle, very gentle. It's like a tape simulation. I use different bands to give a little bit more to the top end and leave the fundamentals alone, not to get too much pumping effect or to mud it up too much. And then I think, yeah, I think I caught the spikes, just the peaks with a limiter. So we are not really compressing the guitar. I wanted it to sound natural, but controlled at the same time. So here I'm just shaving off some peaks and basically leave the core of the guitar alone. Again, not to trigger limiters that are coming later, just calm the signals. And that's basically the same. I did the same thing to the other tracks. Here I see on the 12 string, I used saturation. I just used a different flavor, but it's simulating tubes, just driving the tubes a little bit and getting a little denser sound. Let's see how it sounds. I put it in the center. I bypass everything. Okay, the limiter is just making it louder. Removing rumble, removing a little bit boxiness and a little build up in the lows, putting some nice saturation. Just getting denser and richer in the sound. It's adding overtones. Saturation and overtones are your friend. If you're struggling getting a loud mix that is really punchy, saturation is your friend. You go and saturate everything. This is what why people love analog sound and why they love tape and why they love analog consoles. It's because you can drive it. You can go into saturation. You drive it a little harder than you would if you would want to have it really clean. Just drive it, adding harmonic distortion. So it's you take a sine wave and put it into a compressor, into a transformer, into tape, and you drive it a little bit and you will see that there are lots of harmonics that come out of nowhere. It's generating information more or less out of nowhere, and it's just making a mixed dance. It's if you have like a barrel full of rocks and there is a lot of empty space in between, and it's like putting finer gravel and sand and fill up everything. This is what harmonics are doing for you. Just fill up all the voids in between and making it really dense. That's more or less what I did on the acoustic instruments. No compression. Saturation is compression if you want, and just cleaning up a little bit, and that's more or less it. We had another acoustic instrument that we recorded here at the studio. We recorded a cello. Let's have a listen to what it does in context. What did we do here? Some good old soothe to control low end. A cello can be tricky to record because it has a lot of low end, and you want it thick, but you don't want it boomy, as with so many other instruments. Upright bass is also tricky to record if you don't have a treated room. Fortunately, I have a treated room, so the recording was fine, but it can't hurt to control the low end so that it's really focused all the time and not all over the place. So let's see. It's just gently compressing. So this is -3. So it's just getting rid of 1 or 2 dBs of maybe build up of a certain frequency and keeping it stable throughout the mix. Then you see I have a lot of automation going on. So I want it controlled and put my hands on the dynamics. I want to decide how the dynamics are and not maybe a resonance in the instrument or something. So I compress and control it first, and then you can see there's some serious automation, volume automation going on just to get the right movement in the performance. a little bit of EQ next to nothing, the instrument and the cello player. It was really a great performance, so there was not a lot to do. Again, a little rumble, a little hiss, or not hiss, but string bow sound that nobody needs up here. A tiny bit of compression, very, very gentle. This is 3 dB, a gain reduction max. It's just to keep it a little bit under control so that I can ride the volumes and give it the dynamic that we need. We had a ton of violins in this song that a good friend of mine from Greece, hello Nikos, he recorded for us in at his place and sent me the tracks over, and I treated them here and integrated them into the session. So although when you listen to the song you can't feel a ton of violins, but have a look at what we all have here. I zoom in on 1 or 2 parts and show you the dramatic effect that it does to the song. For example, the beginning part here. You hardly really hear a lot of violin stuff going on, but if I solo what we have here, that's amazing. Especially I love this one. And it's also, well, I didn't automate it, but I used clip gain to automate it so that during the vocals, it's quiet in the background and it's coming in and out to fill voids and take advantage of all the space that we have available. Have a listen at these staccato strings coming in and out in between of the vocal parts. Just adding very subtle drama to the song. It's still in the process of building up, and these strings just build a tension. Another part that I really love, I asked him to play some creepy, slightly disharmonic violins in the build-up that we already had a look at before, where I put this filter on the tsuras. Have a listen at the strings, what they're doing here. Like a creepy atmosphere that is going on in the background. So yeah, this is basically just for atmosphere. Not a lot of processing going on, cutting off some low end. I think that was just about it, deharshing a little bit, putting some reverb on it. Nothing fancy. Here the performance is key. That's it for the acoustic instruments that we recorded and used in this song. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more, then subscribe to the channel, and if you need help with your production, check out the link to Tidalwave Studio in the description below. See you!